Well, hello again, everybody. It's time for our second annual U.S. Open preview right here on the 50th anniversary tour show of Touching Greatness. And who other than Michael Joyce to join us here. Michael, great to have you again. And I'm sure the excitement around New York's got to be crazy right now.
Yes, yeah. It is. This is the first year they're having started on a Sunday, so they're
Yep.
following the other slams. Obviously we were out there today practicing, and it was a madhouse. But this whole week has been pretty exciting with the mixed doubles and the
Yep.
exhibitions. So a lot of people out there, a lot of excitement.
I'll ask you about the mixed doubles in just a moment. In the meantime, if you don't know who Michael is, shame on you because you're watching this show and you're into tennis. So he's a former St. Monica High School standout, is what he was on the west side of Los Angeles. And how was your tennis game in high school, by the way?
It was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
I actually, the funny thing about high school that I remember, we didn't have a tennis team, which was kind of, my parents at the time kind of almost picked that school because like Beverly Hills High, Uni High was the school that was my public school where I lived, and they had a
right.
tennis team as well. St. Monica's was a little private Catholic school that did not have a tennis team. I don't think there was anybody else in the school that played tennis, but they were really nice to me about traveling, and I
Good.
started play. I played at the Forum one night, and they came
Nice.
out like an EXO. Yeah, so I was the only tennis player kind of in the school when I was there. But we were right next door to Lincoln Park, which has a good tennis center. I played some
Absolutely.
junior tournaments there.
So you got to be 64th in the world back in 1996. Ended up at our tournament. I wore the old shirt today. Where is it here? Right there
There it
at
is. I remember
at
that.
the UCLA Tennis Center, the LA Open, which changed names
Great tournament.
75 times, and that's where we
Yes.
first met. And you must have had some unbelievable opportunities and took advantage of a few of them out there in Westwood.
Yeah, I mean, some people play better at home. Some people play worse. They get kind of nervous. I always, luckily enough, played well at home. It was 5 minutes from my house. I used to practice there a lot, and my dad used to take me to the matches, and so I felt really good playing there. And I used to do all my training on the track there, so it was definitely like playing in my backyard. So I was lucky enough to be one of the players that played well at home and had great results there. I love that tournament. They need to bring it back.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever coming back,
I know.
unfortunately. It's all about money. You know that.
Yes. Yeah.
We lost
Yeah.
it. 2012 was our last year, and it feels like yesterday or 1,000 years ago, however you
I
look
know.
at it.
I
It's
know.
really,
But they
really
had a good
sad.
following that tournament. It
Yeah.
really did.
Yes, we did. We had a lot of great season ticket holders used to come
Yep.
out there. Johnny Carson was a regular.
Yep.
Lloyd Bridges was a regular the old days. I mean, it was just a
Yeah, I
classic
saw
event.
everybody. I did an EXO one night with Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. They had that
Nice.
night at the net on
Yes.
I met Kevin Costner there. Celine Dion sang the national. I mean, it was like a who's who of Hollywood tennis. It's sad that it's not there anymore. But
Yeah, well, the eliteness of Michael Joyce, the coach, has been around a few who's in tennis as well. Maria Sharapova, number one in the world. You were with her for 7 years. Jessie Pagula is the number one American player. You were with her for how many years?
eight with
8 years.
Jesse.
Wow,
Yeah,
with Jess. Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah,
So, and of course, Maria went into the Hall of Fame yesterday. We'll
yes,
talk about that in just a
yep.
few moments. But you're currently with 21-year-old Ashlyn Krueger, who is all over the place because, there's one thing about Ash that I enjoy watching her play. She has got a lot of power. She's about 6 feet tall, right?
She's 6'1", almost 6'2"
Oh, I
now.
didn't know it was that tall.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
She's maybe like an inch or two shorter than Maria was. So, and I think
Okay.
she might still be growing. I always tease
Wow.
her. I'm like, you look like you got taller. No, I think she's about a good 6'1", almost 6'2". Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about her game coming in here. I know a few weeks ago she was ranked the best of her career at
Yeah.
29. She's dropped to 41 in the world now. Is that correct?
Yeah, she had a lot of good results last summer,
Yeah,
which, going into the summer, I think last year she was like 80 or 90, and she had two good tournaments in Canada and Cincinnati. The way the rankings work, the tour works in one year, you gain points, a year later they come off. So She did okay in Cincinnati, played pretty well. She missed Washington. She got injured at Wimbledon. That was
Yeah.
we got kind of lucky that it wasn't more serious. She was in the second round. She fell and slipped, and she actually got a
Oh,
small
wow.
fracture in her leg. So we had to skip DC, and then we went into Canada a little under prepared, but we had to kind of start back, and she was pain free. And those tournaments, she got buys for the first time, which is always a little, it's tricky because
Yeah.
the top 32 seeds get buys. So it's a good thing because you're in the second round and you don't have to play a seed, but then you're playing somebody who's played 2 or 3 matches already.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit getting used to. But it's a work in progress. I mean, we're in a pretty good spot now. She made third round U.S. Open last year, but
Yeah.
after that, she didn't really play much in Asia. She usually plays well in Asia, so we have a lot of about 5 or 6 more big tournaments this year. I think she can finish the year hopefully in the top 30 or 20. I think she can do that.
That'd be great. Now, her
Yeah.
injury, how much of that her recovery was due to her youth, or was it just
Yeah.
nothing serious anyway?
Well, no, I think it was her youth. I mean,
Okay.
it's always she had like what they call like a bone, like she fell and she got like a bone intusion, a small fracture,
Okay.
bone bruise, and I think a lot of that has to do. So we had to practice. She took about a week off, and then we had a couple weeks where we just hit balls in one spot, and she couldn't put a lot of like couldn't do a lot of jumping and running on it. So
Right.
we served and hit balls, but she started feeling pretty good. Within a couple weeks, the pain started to go away. But it's one of those things you kind of have to be careful because you don't want it to get worse, and then you have to kind of go by the pain. But I think being 21 years old definitely helped her recovery for that, and she's
Right.
perfectly fine now. Which I
That's
think she
great.
started playing really well in Cincinnati. I mean, she had set points against Paolini in the first set, and
Yeah.
it was so hot there that I felt like whoever won that set was probably going to win the match. And if she would have won that first set, I think she could have won that. And then Paolini ended up getting the finals. So she's. I think that should give her a lot of confidence going into the Open here.
Yeah. So she's feeling good as far as practice
Yeah,
goes, and
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's basically, let's go, baby. I'm ready for the
Yeah,
Open.
now it's ready. Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
last year we went into the Open. She had played a ton of matches because she had to qualify in Cincinnati and Canada, and
Yeah.
she, this year going in without as many matches as maybe we would like because of the injury and stuff. But she's also fresh and she's excited to play, and so
Yeah. Good.
like you said, tee it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're ready when you are, baby.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. Well, good luck with all that, of course. In the meantime, this is the uh, a special event this next few weeks. It's the 75th anniversary of Althea Gibson breaking the color barrier in tennis, and that's going to be a celebration all the entire time there. This is
Yeah,
the
it's
great
great.
logo that they have. I was really lucky on the men's side for when Arthur Ashe had just it was total coincidentally, of course, he won his last tournament, and we may have talked about this before. I don't know if you recall
At UCLA, Poly
exactly.
Pavilion. Yes,
Exactly. It was inside Pauley Pavilion before they played outdoors at there was no UCLA Tennis Center at that time
that's
yet,
right.
right?
I
So and
probably went there with my dad. What year
yeah,
was
and
that?
I was 1978.
Yeah, so I would have been 5. So, but
Yeah.
he started taking me to tennis matches when I was 7, 8 years old. So, not too far off.
So that was one of my first tennis tournaments I ever covered.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so I randomly got to see Arthur Ashe's last win on
Wow,
tour. I mean,
that's
it's pretty neat, isn't
fantastic.
it?
That's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. But so, did you ever get a chance to meet or deal with Arthur at
I
all?
did actually. I have a picture somewhere. I think
Nice.
I lost in the boys 14 Easter Bowl when it was in Florida, and he presented my trophy. So I do remember
Nice.
my dad and mom somewhere in a scrapbook. And then well, he probably actually Tom Gullickson. I was going to say I was a practice partner a few times for Davis Cup once
Right.
was at 17, 18. But I think Tom Gullickson. But I had met him quite a few times.
Nice.
Yeah, but I do have a picture with him giving me a trophy for
Okay, the next time
second
you're
place.
on this show, you
I
gotta
gotta
you gotta
find
get a
that.
copy of that,
I
please.
gotta go. My sister has all the good stuff in
All right.
in California. I have to look it up.
I'll bother her. In the meantime,
Yep.
Althea Gibson, they got a nice statue right there at in New
Oh
York, and
yeah, look at that.
yeah, it's a real beauty.
I
So
know
that's going to
exactly
be
where that is.
a nice focus of the tournament this week.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. So yesterday was a Hall of Fame event,
Yes.
and there was something special about it. Now you weren't there, but your
Yeah.
pupil Maria Sharapova goes in. The only negative about the whole thing, we won't go into it. I'll speak on my behalf. She
Yeah.
never mentioned your damn name, and that pisses me off. I got a
Yeah.
friend Brady Riggs who's a golf pro in LA, and Brady is we've done a few shows together, and I've been around him for 30 years at least, and he taught Danielle Kang one of
Mm,
the Pepperdine product, and she's won a bunch of times on tour, and she won a major, and when she finally won her
fantastic.
first major, she wasn't working with Brady anymore, and she thanked a bunch of people and not him. And I'm
Yeah.
watching that thinking, you got to be kidding me. How many years did that man spend making you
Yeah.
a back-to-back U.S. amateur champ on top of
Yeah.
it? You know,
Yeah.
I know that's just part of the job. You guys don't, you get credit for 5 seconds and then you're forgotten. But
Right.
but I know whatever the situation was yesterday, the pride factor's got to be immense.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling. I mean, she was. I, it's a tough thing. I struggle with it a little bit because
Sure.
the main reason I didn't go was number one, it was a little bit of a hike. I mean, obviously, if it was last month, I mean, it was on the eve of the U.S. Open.
Right.
I could have potentially taken a train, gone there for 3 hours, gone for the celebrate because it was also it was a whole weekend. It was
Yeah.
3-day thing.
Right.
So I would have gone up there. I could have, been there for that hour or two, and then I would have had to come back this morning. One coach, yeah, Thomas Hogstead did that. But it's also, from what I heard, she didn't mention Lansdorp, she didn't mention Bollettieri even, and she
That's
didn't
true.
mention me. I think she just mentioned who was there. She mentioned some hitting partners, some trainers. I know she wanted me to go. She actually mentioned my name on the Roddick podcast
Oh, good. Good.
last week, and I think she probably just thanked and who was there, right? So,
No, I
I mean,
get
I
it.
have a great relationship with Maria, and
I know
and
that.
she's always been very nice and thankful to me. But it's pretty funny. I've had tons of people reach out to me, even on Facebook and messages, and you know, I I'm very proud of the almost 7-8 years I officially worked with her. I knew her since she was 9. I hit with her when she was 11,
Yeah.
9, 10. I mean, so obviously we go way back, and like you said, it's one of those things, and she hasn't been huge into tennis. That's one thing. Once she kind of left the sport, she hasn't been like, she's been seen around a few times. She's got
Right.
into other, things. So,
Well, she's
you
starting a
know,
family too, of course.
yeah. So I feel like it was one of, I mean, all those guys, Utaka, her trainer, she had a physio who I'm really close with, this guy, Juan Rique, who's from Spain, who
Okay.
was her main physio for about eight, maybe 10 years. And
Yep.
she didn't mention him either. So I think she just mentioned who was there that she could see right in the
Right. The
front
only
row.
minor
So,
thing, and I like Maria, and I dealt with her. I was lucky enough to be there. Here's the picture of me interviewing her when she
oh,
was
yeah.
like 17 or
That
I
was
don't
when
know
I
18
was with her there, and she won the championships at
at
Staples
Staples Center.
Center. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes way back when her hair was golden brown or whatever that was then.
Yes, blonde, blonde for many years. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But one of the things about her was that they always talked about her rivalry. I have a problem with that term rivalry
Hmm.
when it's one-sided, it's not really a rivalry. To
Right.
me, with Serena Williams, I think she won like 2 out of whatever times.
Yeah, 3 out of 18 or
Yes, is
something.
that what it
Yeah.
is? Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was an incredible, intense match against Serena, and here
Right.
it was yesterday. Serena Williams was there to actually introduce her. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I think, I mean, that just shows sports, in sport. I think men to have a better. I mean, they could have a rivalry. They could have like even Federer and Nadal, but they were really good friends and close. And the
Yeah,
men, I think what made it extra special was the fact that they didn't really like each other. Bottom
exactly.
line. I mean, and I
Exactly. It
think
was
Serena explained it pretty good. I saw some highlights of what she
good.
said, and when you're trying to be the best, and I find that women tend to. It's hard for women to be really close to another woman while they're competing. And men, it comes a little more natural, I think. I mean, I had guys that I was like best friends with, and we'd go have a beer, and then I'd want to
Right.
kill him the next day. But
Right. Well,
women,
sort of like your
it's not.
brother, right?
Yeah,
Like
yes,
if
yeah,
you're playing your brother, you want to beat the
sure,
crap out of him, then
right.
it doesn't mean you hate him. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I feel like that, and I think that's women. Women, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, and I think that's what also makes the rivalries in women's tennis extra special in one way because it's
Totally
back to
agree.
the old like Connors McEnroe, right?
Right.
Like, in some ways you love that when they look like they don't like each other, but even Connors and McEnroe, once they finished, I think they became really close and they commentated
Yep.
and I even think McEnroe, Connors was going to coach McEnroe a little bit right when he stopped, and
Yep.
so I think once the competition, so I wasn't surprised by that. I mean, I think it was probably a big surprise to everybody. I didn't know exactly how. I think you have to have somebody who was in the hall kind of induct, bring you in.
Yep.
So I think it was pretty cool, and I think it was obviously it's a big focal point to the ceremonies, and
Yep.
I think everybody liked to see that.
And not only that, but they were. And by the way, it's to see this picture. And if you would have said to them 15 years ago, "This is going to be you guys at the hall," they would have said, "You're insane. Get out of my face."
Yeah,
Like
that's right.
zero chance. Zero.
But I mean, one thing I will say, the
Yes.
years I was with Maria, she she respected Serena,
Oh, of course.
obviously. Like I know when she beat her at Wimbledon, and then she ended up beating her in the probably right before that interview you did there. She beat her
Yep.
in the championships in the
Exactly.
final, and you know, I think there was a mutual respect there. And sometimes, when you have like such a high respect for somebody, it makes you, work harder. And they definitely drove each other. I mean,
Yep.
Venus could have been, if Venus wasn't playing the U.S. Open and still playing, she could have inducted her. I mean, I think,
Exactly.
Serena and Venus was like the essence of tennis for 20, so many years.
Sure.
And Maria, you young kid growing up, and just to play against them and compete with them, it really drove her. And I think it was ultimate uh, finish getting into the Hall of Fame, and having Serena do that was amazing.
Yeah. And a couple more thoughts on the Hall of Fame before we go back to the Open. And the Bryan brothers, just special guys. Of course, we knew them from Southern
Yeah.
California, Camarillo boys. I worked with their dad, Wayne, for years and years out at UCLA. He would take the mic, literally rip it out of my hand sometimes and
Yes.
say, "I got to talk, baby. It's my turn." He
Right.
liked to
Right.
talk. And it was nice to see him in the front row yesterday with the wife and just enjoying the ceremonies. The guys were absolutely spectacular. They really were.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great class. I mean, I think that's what it kind of ate at me a little bit the last few weeks, because obviously I really wanted to go,
Yes,
and
timing. You
and
can't help that.
it was like even Mike and Bob. I mean, I played them probably 20 times. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
I played them in singles. I played them in doubles. I played them in doubles at UCLA tournament when they got a wild card when they were like a
Yep.
freshman at Stanford. And so, and then a bunch of the friends that went there, Jeff Salzenstein and Paul Goldstein, who's the captain at
Sure.
Stanford. So it would that that was also part of, like, I'm like, do I have the energy to go up there, see everybody for 2 hours, and then head back? And I
Yeah,
mean
that's
that
like 7 hours out of your day, and then you got to hustle back.
yeah, that
No,
and
I get
that
it. That
that
makes no
and
sense.
also I having a young girl that I'm working with.
Of course, that's the
um
priority.
Yeah, and I don't know if that would put pressure on her. Oh, by the way, I'm going to see an ex student in the Hall of Fame. Good luck in the U.S. Open tomorrow, kind of
Yeah,
thing,
no, I get it.
right?
No,
So
yeah, it totally
there was
makes
a
sense.
lot of things that went into it, but it was definitely something that kind of ate at me. And if it was any other time besides last night, I would have been there, of course, and would have
Yep.
loved to bring my family too. So it's, but
Sure.
you can't have it all, right?
No, exactly. And with the Bryan brothers, one thing about them, I remember interviewing them the first, they're really big into music. I don't know how much you know about that at
Oh
all.
yeah, they're good. Yeah,
Remember,
sure.
yeah,
I've
they're
seen
very
them.
talented.
Yeah, many years. I saw another quick quote. Obviously Instagram. You have all the, and one thing that Andy Roddick mentioned. I don't know if it was in a interview there, or whatever, but he made a really good point. He said that, I mean, one thing about Bob and Mike, even when they played, they were always the first, and I think that had a lot to do with their dad,
Yeah.
Wayne and the mom. They always were the first ones to do a clinic and talk to the
Oh
kids and
yeah,
play with the
absolutely.
kids, and they kind of followed a little bit in the footsteps of the Jensen brothers.
Exactly.
Obviously, they had a lot more success when
They
on
stole the chest
paper,
bump from them is what
but
they
yeah,
talked
well,
about.
they and I mean, when I was coming up, and I was 19, 20, 21, the Jensen brothers were amazing for tennis. I mean,
Absolutely.
they won the French Open that time, and Luke and Murphy. I mean, I learned to see, I actually shared a coach with them, this guy, David Pate, for a year. And it
Sure.
was amazing to see how they interacted with the fans and the tournaments. And even when they were, older, later in their career, they play little challengers and stuff, and
Yep.
they were getting, I mean, it's just great for the sport. I mean, that's
Sure.
ultimately the future of our sport, and the kids, and I mean, being a kid and to go out to the tennis and have a chance to interact with the players, those kids are going to be fans for life, right? So
Yeah.
I think that goes so much farther a lot of times than just winning titles, right? You could be
Absolutely.
an amazing player, win titles, but kind of stick to yourself and not want to really care about anybody. But the Bryans were instrumental and huge at being great for our sport, and I liked
Yep.
how Andy mentioned that. I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really nice. But again, to me, the best part of yesterday, that the actual people that were either inducted or Serena were spectacular. I mean,
Yeah,
those things are usually boring and let's get it
yeah,
over with, and you're just kissing ass and who cares, right?
right.
It says here's your trophy, congratulations. Every single one of them were just Serena was
Yeah,
incredible. I mean,
yeah,
she like just left a Broadway stage to do this.
yeah,
Her
yeah. That
demeanor
was
was
great.
unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic.
Yep. Anyway, congratulations to all of the above. And
Thank
now
you.
it's on to the New York scene. I want to know what's the vibe like in New York at the Open compared to the other slams? What is your feeling as a coach and a player?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting because when I come here too, I mean, the first big tournament that I watched was as a kid. I came to New York. I don't remember. I might have been 10 or 11, and my dad would take me out to the Open. And I
Sure.
remember watching Jimmy Connors and Ilie Nastasi, when I was 10, 12, years old. And it's the same venue. Obviously, it's changed a ton. I mean, you can
Yeah.
still take the subway out there, and
Yep.
over by like the Long Island, that boardwalk. They have practice courts over there now, and it's in the park. And I mean, for me, being 52 years old and coming to the Open probably for 40 years, I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I missed it as a player, as a coach, as a spectator. And to see how it's grown, I mean, it's incredible. In some ways, I mean, not to be a downer, but I almost feel like it's gotten too big in some ways,
I get it.
meaning like it's difficult sometimes to even like watch an outside match because
Right.
there's so many people. And obviously you have the stadium is huge. It's uh, the being in the city. Obviously everything around the city, there's posters up and pictures, and nowadays with the social media and the players are a lot more the money's gotten huge. And I mean, it's a huge event. I mean, it's got to be one of the biggest events in yeah, of everything now,
Sure.
because it's a almost 3 week event. So
Yep.
um every slam has its own feeling. I mean, Australian Open, it's like a summer party down there, and it's a little bit more laid back. I particularly, of all the Grand Slams, like the Australian Open. I would say a lot of players like
The
it.
casualness of it.
Yeah, it's like you're in the city, but it's also like 5 minutes away. Like the
Okay.
site's 5, 7 minutes away, and it's a little bit more spread out. It's a little bit bigger. Um, I, I don't. French Open's smaller. Weather's not as great. We don't not crazy about the clay courts.
Yeah.
Different things. Wimbledon has the tradition. It's more, very like uh, upper class
Prim
kind
and
of.
proper.
Yeah, prim and proper. And then the Open, it's like anything goes. I mean, even
Yeah.
this week, I mean, we were walking out to practice a few times, and up until today, I think people could watch the qualifying for free. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure you could go in there, and so like
okay.
the 3 or 4 days of qualifying matches are packed, and there's people in there that just I mean, I know my uncle personally lives in New York, and he only likes to qualify, and he just he does it every year, and he goes
Huh.
with a couple of his friends, and they watch the qualifying. He doesn't even want to go to the main. He's like, oh, I'll watch those matches on TV, right?
Right.
So you get a good feeling for that, and you see all kinds of people. It's been growing every year, and I mean, it's kind of shows how big tennis, and now we have a lot of good Americans, which helps. I mean, even 10, 15 years ago, I think there was a handful of Americans
Yeah.
in this,
Finally.
and now we have a ton, right? So that's
Yeah. We
bringing a
have
lot more
48
attention.
Americans in the draw this year,
Yeah,
25 women. That's
yeah.
phenomenal.
That's a man, and the men too. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
young men
23.
that we didn't have. I mean, I remember even 10, 15 years ago, you had Roddick and Fish and a handful of guys, but now you have, I mean, two top 10 guys, and it's I think that obviously brings a lot of excitement to
Yeah.
the tournament as well. And
Absolutely.
it's nice when the Americans can get behind the Americans, because the other countries, they certainly do. You go to French, you play a French player at the French Open, they're pretty loud and rowdy, and
Yeah.
same thing in Australia. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Americans and their possibilities in the next 2 weeks. You got seven straight major titles by Mr. Sinner and Mr.
Right.
Alcaraz, or I should call him Senor Alcaraz. Bottom line is these guys are now the big two, and everybody else is looking up at them. So who
Right.
realistically has a shot here to beat these guys if they're healthy and at their best?
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually Shelton or Fritz is going to win a slam, but I don't think it's going to be now. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean it could. I mean,
yeah,
Shelton's been playing great, but those guys obviously over 5 sets and the slam, and I feel like those guys are the guys to beat. I mean, Sinner's been unbelievably consistent and tough, and people don't realize too, like the grand slams for men are a lot different than the other tournaments.
yeah,
The one thing of women, it's not that much different. I mean, the biggest difference for the women in the grand slams is just the pressure of the grand slam, but you're still
sure,
playing 2 out of 3 sets. You're actually getting days off in between, so physical's not really that big of a deal. But in the men play, I mean, I played a lot of 3 out of 5 set matches. It's a totally different ball game. And then to
right.
do it over 7 matches, it's almost like a learned skill. And so I think eventually, I mean, Fritz came pretty close last year.
Yes,
And I think for one of those guys to actually win the tournament, they need some help. I mean, I find it tough for a guy like Fritz to get through Alcaraz, then Sinner, like,
right,
but it can happen. And
sure,
obviously, I think I think Ben. I mean, my take right now, I feel Ben has the right mentality to eventually win.
right.
We
He
talked a
also
little bit
doesn't he
about.
have also the correct arrow up as far as the way he's growing as a player. He's
Yeah,
getting
it's
better
it's what
and
I
better
mean,
and better.
exactly. Right. It's what I mean. It's exactly what I mean. I mean, he has the weapons to
Right.
do it, the game to do it. I think if anything, it's held him back. It's just because of his youth. And
Yeah.
I mean, the like I said, to win 3 out of 5 sets over 2 weeks and 7 matches. But he's gone deep in some slams, semis and quarters. So, but like you said, he's improving. He's got the huge weapons. it's a learned skill in some ways, I think,
Uh-huh.
and I think Sinner's figured it out. Alcaraz obviously's figured it out. Those guys are they're setting the bar right now, and yeah, we got some good young Americans come right behind them. So
Yeah. The question is, why is Ben Shelton, and maybe it's because what we just said, but Taylor Fritz is the number one American still, isn't he?
yeah, but it's also
Barely,
goes, but
barely.
he got to the finals of U.S. Open last year.
Right.
So
So,
again,
but
like with the point, yeah,
Ben is
with
more of a favorite in this thing than Taylor
well,
is.
that's yeah, but that's because Ben won Canada. He won the
Okay.
big
No, I get
tournament in
it. I get
Canada.
it.
He beat Fritz there in straight sets. I mean, there's a lot to say going in, especially if you look at the past, like the
Current
guys that
form, you
win.
mean?
Yeah, current form, right
Yeah.
on hard court,
Yeah.
the balls. I mean, Fritz is right there too. But those two, I mean, it's like Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul's a great player. He's 11 in the world, but he's been injured. He hasn't played a lot. So you got to figure you I don't see him coming in and winning the tournament. Like
Right.
maybe he gets his teeth into, but that current form, I mean, Ben's got a ton of confidence right now. Looks like he has a pretty good draw. Fritz did well last year, but if Ben gets to the quarters and Fritz gets to the quarters, I think Ben's going to is the top American because
Okay.
Fritz is losing all those points. So
Got it.
that's part of why Fritz is still ranked higher than him,
Okay.
is because of that. But it's right now, I think those are the two best Americans that have the chance in
Right.
my book.
Okay. And as far as what about lefty righty thing? Is there something about a guy with a lot of talent and being all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute, if you're a Sinner or an Alcaraz, you're facing a left-hander and it's a different ball
For
game.
sure, yeah. I mean, like all sports, I mean, lefty has a big advantage. I mean, it's just the biggest advantage they have is the fact that there's not as many of them. Like it's
Yes.
so right off the bat, you could play five righties and then you play a lefty, but and then the balls come in. And plus, they being a lefty, if you have a big serve, your better side is going to be the ad side, which
Okay.
is like most of the big points are on the ad side. So that's
Right.
where, you're down break point, you have a huge serve and you have the advantage of serving lefty to the ad side. So,
Right.
I mean, and if you look at the top, I mean, I've actually always kind of done this like in my head a little bit, but like I think 9% of the population is left-handed. Yeah,
Okay.
because my wife is left-handed, so that's how I
Okay.
know that. 9.2 or something. And if you look in the top 100 men, there's probably like 30 lefties, right? So it's
Okay.
similar to baseball, I would say. Like there's probably, I don't know the details, but there's probably a lot more major league left-handed pitchers than there are, let's say, 9%,
How
right?
about
So
even hitters? How
hitters,
about
right?
Otani and Babe Ruth? That's not too bad for
Sure.
left-handers.
So when you look at sports, especially that have like serving or throwing, I would say it evens out more, right?
Okay.
So there's definitely an advantage to that, and a lot of it is just like you said, it's just getting used to the spin, and it's coming from a different side, and
Yeah.
usually the righties have to um, adjust to
Okay.
the lefty, where the lefty's playing righties all the time, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's actually funny when a lefty plays a lefty because you can see it's like a little bit weird, right? So, but all these professional, I mean, Sinner, guy like Sinner, same with that. I mean, obviously they play lefties a lot, and
Right.
but I think I always felt like some of the guys like Jeff Tarango, like guys that I played against. I mean, like Lerner Tien, the guy that just played
Yeah.
Djokovic. He's a really good young player.
Yeah. He's got a lot of
Um,
talent.
and a lot of talent, but I feel like if he had the same game and he was righty, he probably wouldn't be as good. Right.
Interesting.
Same like, yeah. I mean, I always felt like if I was lefty instead of being 60, I might have been 20. Right. So I think that's pretty common.
Okay.
Jimmy Connors maybe wouldn't have been as good if he wasn't lefty. McEnroe, same thing. So there's definitely an advantage there. So
All
I
right.
mean, that helps Ben for sure, I think.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's go over a few of the key players in this thing. All of a sudden, Iga Swiatek is hot again after basically we hadn't heard from her for about a year and a half. She won nothing, which was a shock because she was so
Yeah.
much better than everybody, and now she's back and she looks ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's in my mind. She's always been the last, 4 or 5 years. She's always been her and Sabalenka have
Yep.
kind of been the two best and most complete players. I think the biggest surprise was that she didn't do as well on clay this year as she has in the past. I mean, it's hard when you set the bar as high as she has. Getting to the semifinals and losing it, everybody thinks it's she's not doing good, right? So
Right.
I know she hadn't won a tournament in a year. She went far in a lot of tournaments. I know she had last year at the Open. She had that drug thing that
Yeah.
I mean, what people don't Sinner had it too. Even though they didn't get big suspensions, there's that takes a lot of it puts a lot on their mind and I'm sure. I'm not surprised she's playing good again. I'm not surprised she won Wimbledon. Anything that she does doesn't really surprise me. Same like Sabalenka. They're the two, the ones to beat. I think at the very top at the
Yeah.
women.
And as far as Coco goes, how do you figure her in here? Because obviously she could win at any level, and she's
Sure.
already won on clay. I mean, good
Mhm.
for her. That's impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand why so many people pick on Coco. I mean, I mean, she's the same age as Ashlyn. I think she's 6 months older or something. But I
So
mean,
it's
it's
forgotten now her age
yeah,
because
it's
the
forgotten.
expectations are ridiculous.
Exactly. And that's the world we live in these days. I mean,
Yep.
it, and I think it takes its toll a little bit on the players. I mean, Coco, you want to think that they don't read a lot, they don't look into it too much, all this, but it's there, right? So I
Yep.
think some of her, I mean, it feels like a year or two ago, everybody was talking about her forehand and how bad her forehand is, and now it's her serve. And, I mean, the girl, she's won a couple slams, she won the championships last year. She's obviously an unbelievable player, an unbelievable athlete. I think
Yep.
I would say she's probably the best athlete that's ever played women's tennis. I mean,
Wow, that's a
right
lot.
up there. I mean, she's right up there with Serena and
Yep.
Iga. Iga's amazing, but
Yep.
I remember I was coaching a girl couple years ago named Tamea Babo. She was
I remember her.
number one in doubles, and a good solid player. She got to 30 in the world, and I was coaching Tamea. This had to be like 4 or 5 years ago. So Coco was probably 17 or something, and Tamea played her in the second round, and they were in the third set. And I remember Tamea was up a break 2-0 or something, and I really thought like she had her. Coco's forehand was shaky, all kinds of stuff. And I remember
Yeah.
Coco got into this mode where she was just gonna like not miss a ball, run every ball down, sliding all over the court, doing the split. And Coco came back and won. And I had never seen a woman literally like that could get every single ball like that. Like it was
Wow.
incredible how she moved. And this is 4 or 5 years ago. That's a little bit overlooked sometimes because everybody likes to see a pretty player and a perfect game and
Yep.
beautiful strokes. And I mean, Coco, what you wouldn't put her in that category, but for toughness and for athletic ability and just a great competitor, and that goes a really long way. So she, of course, always is right up there in the top 5 or 10
Exactly.
girls for sure.
Yeah, but you're right about Coco with her. Well, she's had issues basically all year that I
Sure.
recall with her serve. It's like it's sometimes she looks like I don't even want to serve. I'd
Yeah.
rather have you serve, and that's very weird. But I guess it's sort of like any athlete; they go through this psychological dip, and
Yeah.
we got to get that confidence back,
Well,
right?
the serve is what people don't realize. Serve is very mental. I mean,
Yeah,
once when you're a little kid or you're learning how to play, of course, the technique and you got to learn how to do it. I mean, I I saw Coco play many times, even when she was younger. And she has huge. She can serve huge. I mean, she can serve 115, 120. I mean, she's unbelievably strong. Has a huge serve. The problem is once everybody starts talking about the double faults and you start thinking and you start then it starts to become mental. I mean, you've seen it even with Zverev. Remember Zverev
yeah,
when he couldn't hit, double
oh yeah,
faulting, and I mean, look how good his serve is. So it's a mental thing. You got to be careful a little bit when you start going too much into the biomechanics I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
everybody wants to hear that somebody's going to fix it like that. And yeah, I mean, listen, I've been around long enough to see great servers go through tough, periods, and vice versa. So I mean, she'll figure it out. She'll, again, she's young.
Yeah.
It's just right now she's going through a little phase. I mean, one thing I will say is that a lot of people don't realize too, the women in the summer in the U.S. play with different balls than the men. So the women are playing with regular duty Wilson balls, which are basically clay court balls,
Okay.
and they're much lighter than the men's ball, and there's 100 times lighter than the balls that people are using at the French Open and Wimbledon. So the
Okay.
men and women use the same balls in all three Grand Slams except the U.S. Open. And notoriously, the last 20 years or so, I mean, even when I was with Maria, she used to struggle with double faults during the summer
Yep.
because a lot of these tournaments are really hot. Like in
Sure.
Cincinnati, honestly, Ashlyn, I think in her match hit 12 or 13 double faults because
Wow.
the balls are very light and it's super hot and it's really hard to control them.
Okay.
And we went up 5 or 6 pounds tighter in the racket just to control the ball. So that's something that people don't really know. You go
Yeah, they
from
don't
like
talk about that
Wimbledon, they
ever.
don't talk about that ever, and it's totally different. I mean, it's totally
Wow.
different.
Okay.
And you're sitting there, and in a couple games, the balls like lose all like the felt. And what's funny is the men actually, like Taylor Fritz been talking stuff. The men will say how much lighter the Wilson balls are compared to like Wimbledon,
Right.
which they are. But then now the women, it's like twice as light as that even. So you'll see a lot of like I think that's. I don't think Coco was double faulting that much at the French, and I don't know about Wimbledon. She lost first round, but like at the French, she certainly wasn't double faulting like that.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've seen for 20 years. Maria would, when she was having some shoulder issues and some double fault issues, like she'd play Wimbledon and hit like 2 or 3 double faults, and then Stanford tournament, the first match, she hit like 20, and
Wow.
everybody would be going nuts. But all those second serves that are missing by a foot, at Wimbledon we're in by 2 feet. So
Yeah.
that's an adjustment too. So that
Okay.
that's something that a lot of the women go through as well. So
Okay. A
Coco's probably
couple.
struggling with that.
Yeah, a couple of quick thoughts on the surface itself. Is there? Do you think it favors anybody? Well, let's look at the Americans. Like for example, Pagula. I mean, she's 35 to 1. I
Yeah,
mean, that's to me that's crazy. I'm not
yeah,
saying she should be favored, but she should be in the top handful. 35 to 1. It's like give me a break. But
yeah.
how does this
It's fine.
favor her and like Maddie Keys and a few others and Ashlyn as far as the surface and the balls?
Yeah, I think the Americans play good. Obviously, in usually in the U.S. they play good. I mean, I would
Right.
say most American players probably are better on hard court to feel good. I mean,
Yeah.
Jessie likes clay. She played on clay. So does Coco. I mean, but I mean, for the between the balls, the court's playing pretty quick, so definitely a quicker court. Yeah, so it should help the Americans. I mean, Jesse got to the finals last year. I
Yeah.
agree. It's silly to be 35 to 1. I mean, behind Maboko, that's a little crazy. I mean, the
That's
girl had one
ridiculous.
one good tournament. I mean,
Exactly.
at home, so I don't pay much attention to the odds and stuff. I mean, I can't, with with my job and everything. But this is a little bit, yeah, it's a little
Now,
bit.
if I'm you, I take Ashlyn
I
the
don't even,
quarter
yeah,
and I show her this and say, "Do you think you're 80 to 1 in this damn tournament, girl? Do you
yeah,
really
no,
think that?" Now, I know the
yeah.
odds mean nothing. It's only
Well,
about betting.
I don't
But
even think Andrescu's in the tournament, to be
yeah,
honest. And
yeah,
she's
I think
she's
you're
she's
right.
got a better shot at winning the tournament according to this than we do. But she's not even in it. So
Okay. This was a few
no,
days
I
ago,
I
so I
know
don't. But
I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, what makes the women exciting, I think, is that it was like in the men for many years you kind of like it was somewhat open, and then
yeah,
the women always had like Serena or Maria or whatever, and now I feel like the women's much more open than men even,
okay,
because if you look at the last between Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic, I don't think there's been many other men to win slams in the
yeah,
last few years, if I'm not mistaken, where the women, look at how many different women have won. I mean, I think Raducanu's playing really good right now.
And she's
She
healthy,
could,
of course,
and she
finally.
likes it there. She's healthy, so I mean, off the top of my head, I would give an honest chance to 20, 30 women to win the tournament.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you
And
might
one of
say
them's
some,
Ashlyn Krueger, by the way.
sure, she could do it. There's no doubt. I
What
mean,
does she need to do right now besides it's always about consistency. But what does
yeah,
she
I
need to
mean,
do at this level to say, okay, not only am I ready, but psychologically and physically, she is ready to compete with the best. Where does she stand in that regard?
yeah, I think for her especially, it's the belief, like,
Yep,
the belief that she can do it, the belief that she can. I think now, compared to last year, I think she feels like she can beat anybody and she can play with anybody, which is a big step up from a year
sure.
or two ago.
Yep,
I think now to do it on a big stage, to do it, I mean, a lot of the players, people, a lot of, like, I mean, that's one thing with the slams. There's a lot, you feel a lot more pressure in a way because you
of
have
course.
a lot more time, you have days off. There's obviously the crowds, the, like today we can only practice an hour, tomorrow only an hour. Like, if you're not ready to go, you're not, those 3 days before a tournament, you're not going to get yourself ready.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
more like, it's tough to get practice. There's a million people around. It's like, going back and forth, everybody talking about, there's a, interview, a sponsor. Like, if you have sponsors and you have, um, you, Adidas and Wilson, all the sponsors want you to do stuff before the tournament. So, like,
right.
that week before, you're doing events, you're doing, that's part of my job, is to try to shield her from as much as that as you can, but at the same time you have to do it. That's what you're getting paid to do, that. So
Yep.
I find that a lot of young players struggle with that. That's a
Okay.
big change where you go to a normal tournament. I mean, even tournaments like Cincinnati in Canada, I mean, a year or two ago she was in qualifying, and
Yeah,
2 years ago she's playing, challengers where there's 10 people watching, and
of course.
nobody really. So I think that's, I mean, even Jesse and a lot, I mean, it took her a long time to learn how to deal with that, and to learn how. And I know, as a player, being a player before, it's like you could be doing really well and you're getting your ranking up, and now all of a sudden, now you go into a grand slam, and now everybody thinks like, oh, now you're ready to win it, like you're saying. Right? So, and that's how that's the natural feeling. But it also, I think that's what experience is.
Right,
It's
of course.
experience. I mean, all of a sudden you realize, oh, okay, I'm playing U.S. Open. It's the same as like a match in Cincinnati, or the same. But the first couple years, it's like, oh, I'm playing the Open, and
Right.
everybody's watching. I mean, last year she did well here. She struggled in the first round because she was really nervous, and almost lost first round. Lost her first set 6-love because she was a nervous wreck, and she got through the match. And the next day, she killed that Andreeva, who was a very good player. She played
Yep.
unreal. And then in the third round, I mean, even I started thinking, man, if she plays like that, she could win the tournament, right? I didn't tell her that, but you start thinking,
Of
you see
course.
somebody play at that level, you're like, man, they could. And but then she's thinking that too. And then third round, people from Texas show up, and then she, whatever. And she told me after,
Too many thoughts in her
yeah,
head.
yeah, and she kind of like froze, played a tough match, and then after she's
Wow.
like, "Why did I?" I'm like looking over and I see this person, Emma. Like, why are all these people here to watch me? Like, why do they care about me? Kind of thing, right? So, I think a lot of players go through that. I see even the young boys go through it. It's just, that's part of experience. That's part of,
Oh, of
um,
course.
being there.
I,
It is what it is,
yeah, I
right?
want to drop in a thought and get your feelings on this because I talk about this with golfers, golf teacher, my buddy Brady, and also actual PGA Tour players. I've talked to a few of them about this. Arnold Palmer once said to me, he said, Ted, I smile on the course no matter what. I don't give a damn if I'm playing awful or I'm playing great or anywhere in
Yeah,
between. And, he had this thing called Arnie's Army that followed him around for
yeah,
45 years or whatever it was, right? And
right.
because he's likable, but it's the old story. You can't cry and laugh at the same time. So if you
Yeah,
smile, even if you don't have a lot to smile about, you might be having a lousy serving day or whatever the hell it
right.
is. It doesn't matter. You still force a few smiles in there because
For sure.
it makes you feel good inside, even if you're not truly feeling it, and
Yeah.
B, the perception is good. The
Right.
people watching you, they want to watch a person who's having a
Right.
good time out
Right.
there. I wonder how much does that ever come into play in your teaching with your players?
Oh, it's the biggest thing. It's just they don't
Okay.
do it. They don't do it all the time.
But would you yell
Yeah,
out,
absolutely.
smile, smile, have fun out there?
Yeah,
Ever?
I mean, I would say part of my coaching, part of probably even having the players that I've worked with for long periods of time have a lot
Right.
to do. I mean, I always say, I mean, my two biggest rules, which is very obviously forgotten a lot, is like, the person's a human first,
Of
right?
course.
So at
That's
the end
exactly
of the
right.
day, at the end of the day, and if the person it doesn't feel good about themselves, if they're not happy, they're not going to play good. Bottom line.
Yep. Yep.
I've never seen anybody, maybe McEnroe. I mean, to get mad and to get like have anger to like maybe up your adrenaline for a period of time or whatever. Okay, maybe it works for a few minutes, but if you're walking around, miserable and down, you're not going to play well. Now, I would say most players kind of you know go to that rule. It's just that I think it's a choice. I think the player, I mean, I know one thing. I've told Ashton a million times, I'm like, I've never seen Ashton play bad when she's not having fun. I
Okay.
mean, I mean, I've never seen her play bad when she's having fun. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Like, if
Right.
she's having fun, she's usually playing good. I've
Right.
never once had to say like, "Oh, you're stop laughing, stop smiling, you're not concentrating." The problem is when we're younger and we're learning how to play and we're getting in competition and we're kind of, I'm sure it happens in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks so, concentrate, focus, you got to be tough, you got to be mean, you got to, and I that that's a very good point, and it's something that I've always kind of felt like I've tried to preach to my players. It just usually when they're not doing it, it's because they're so far deep into like where they shouldn't, necessarily be. And I think the great players are able to do that,
Right.
to loosen themselves up, because usually if they're not, I mean, also when you do that, it makes you looser, so you can serve
Exactly.
harder, you
That's what
can
I'm
move
talking
better.
about.
Yeah,
But there's also something about it's so easy, and it's obvious reaction to smile when you're playing great or after a fantastic
sure,
point. But but you could like sort of like give credit to the other person every once in a while, walk
sure.
back to behind the line and smile and say, "Hey, you're not going to win every damn point.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm loving this."
I remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I've even said it to Ashton, but I remember with Jesse, I used to tell her, like, if you hit a really bad shot or something,
Right.
we had this buddy of ours that lived in LA. He was kind of like crazy guy. And he told me one time
Wasn't me, was it?
yeah, he told me one time that well, actually, I was with him, which is even more crazy. He got a speeding ticket, and
Right.
he was a tennis player. He wasn't that good, whatever. But he got pulled over, and the cop came over and said, you realize you're going like 65 and it was like a 45. And he's like, yeah, I was just joking. And
Right.
the guy was
Yeah.
like, what? And he goes, yeah, I was just joking. And the guy's
Wow.
like, the guy let him off. He said that I've never heard that one before. He's like, I'm really sorry. I was just, and I remember I was coaching Jessie at the time, and the next day and I said, when you hit like a really crappy shot or something, just look and say, I was
Laugh
just
it off.
joking.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we had this going for a couple years where she would like hit a tear. She's like, I was just joking. And you can't, and it
That is
actually like
great.
really worked, right? So
I'm
I've
sure.
said that a couple times when Ashton's playing and she like you practice or she hits like a terrible second serve, shanks it or whatever. I
Ah,
guarantee
just
you that would
joking.
help Coco. She'd be like, "Oh, you hit 25 double faults. Yeah, I want to see if I could win and hit 25. I was just
You know
joking,
what?
whatever."
And do you
But
see what
you
I
know
see
what?
in Coco? And like sometimes she looks too serious out
Yeah,
there. I mean, there's a competitive side of
sure.
you, and then there's the other side. It's like it's hard to. You're almost over focusing, if you
But
know what I mean.
I also think, nowadays, I even said this the other day to somebody. So where you see a lot of people, especially the women, they change coaches or they bring
Right.
people in or they, and then like I think nowadays the players have so many sponsors, they have so much like money, and and in a subconscious way, I think they feel like they need to like prove to the sponsors, or like I'm trying everything to get my serve better. I'm trying to, and God forbid I laugh or it looks like I don't care, right? And I really do believe, like, I mean, there's a there's a known fact. I've been around tennis long enough. Like most players play better in practice. I mean,
Right.
There's a few that
Because you're
would
just going
play
through the
better.
motions. You're not.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
nothing else in the
exactly,
way.
exactly. And most of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 players are looser in practice. They play. I mean, we run into the Ashlyn's actually one of the few that doesn't necessarily play better in practice. I actually,
Interesting.
um, sometimes in practice, she'll lose focus or whatever. But I feel like for the most part, most players are a little more relaxed in practice. They don't care as much. It's in the matches where a lot of times they lose a little bit of that smile. I
Right.
mean, I can sense it right away, and I think that's what. And of course, in a slam, or it's even bigger, the pressure and stuff. And again, that's a learned skill. I mean, there's
Yep.
no doubt it's a learned skill. It's something that I always try to help my players with. They
Right.
usually trust me because I was a player. I'll tell them I could have done that more. And it's like kind of a work in progress, but
Of course.
it's definitely something that all the players could do better. Just
Right.
no
So
doubt.
tomorrow I'm going to be watching your girl, Ashlyn Krueger, out there, and I'm
Tuesday, she
expect.
plays Tuesday.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's Tuesday. I'm sorry,
Tuesday. Yeah,
Tuesday.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
she
she plays
plays
Tuesday.
Sophia Kenin. Is that correct?
Yes, Sophia Kenin, third
Okay.
match on Grandstand on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so that would be what, like a midday thing then?
Yeah, I think she plays not before 3 o'clock here. So there's a men's match and a women's match.
Okay.
So starting at 11. So she'll be on 3 or 4 and East Coast on
Okay. So you
Tuesday.
tell Ash that we talked a lot about her on the show, and we're just going to be expecting her to be smiling the whole damn day.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If she's doing that, she'll win. That's probably,
Exactly. And
yeah.
then guess what? Then you can smile for the rest of the night because you
Yeah.
have a reason to smile.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
One more thing I want to talk about before we wrap this thing up, and that's the mixed doubles that they started
Yeah.
this year. What are your thoughts on that? On how that fits? And I guess it's officially a Grand Slam mixed doubles title was given out yesterday,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I have mixed
You
feelings.
have
I
mixed
think,
feelings on the
yeah,
mixed doubles.
I have mixed feelings on mixed doubles. I mean, the reason I think it was great from a tennis
Okay, yeah, me
standpoint.
too.
I think for the tournament, for the fans, for all of that, I think was great. The downfall, where you're going to have a lot of obviously doubles specialists who make a living playing doubles, and that extra money is
Yep.
they want to have that. Um, I think they could tinker with it a little bit, meaning depending who can get in and who, but ultimately I will tell you the mixed doubles in the slams, really nobody cares.
Right.
At the end, the only people that
But
care are
if
the
their
ones that are
names in there,
winning.
then they care more, right?
Right. Well, of course, that's the
Yeah.
thing. I
Well,
mean,
so
that's
I
what I'm
guess they did
saying.
well. Didn't they do well the last few
Oh, they
days on
did
that?
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
like
did
sellouts,
amazing.
didn't
They
they?
sold out. People were watching on TV. I had people
That's
that I
never going
don't
to happen
barely
with your
even
average
know.
mixed
No,
doubles. You'll have 30
exactly.
people
So,
there. Nobody cares.
so it's to me, it's like a no-brainer when it comes to like I think other slams will probably do it. I know I've coached some doubles players who were in the semifinals even a few years ago with this Bob. What is she? I think she was in like the semis of Wimbledon mixed doubles, and there was like 10 people watching, right?
Exactly.
So that's not great for the tournament. It's not great
Not great for the players. Nobody wants
for
to
the
play like that
players,
either.
right? And you're never going to get top players that are going to play for 2 weeks. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
not going to
exactly.
happen. When they got singles and doubles. So I think it was a great thing for the tournament. I think it was having it the few days before. I think we're good. I mean, it kind of got a lot of interest tournament. So I think they'll have to maybe find a way to allow more maybe doubles players in it if they can somehow. But they definitely only chance of having the name players play is to do it this way. They're never
Yep.
going to play a normal I
Exactly.
mean, they never have. So it's and then the money was a lot more.
Yep.
I mean, so you can't justify paying $1 million to a couple doubles players that play the full 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
But doing
Exactly.
it the way they did it, and the team that won probably deserves to win because they won it the year before, and it's just always gonna be a little bit of controversy of who they let in, or who plays, right? So I know a lot of doubles players who are really salty on it, and it's a paycheck, and
Of
I
course.
understand where they're coming from, but I mean, people are here to watch who they want to watch, and
You always
TV
got to
rights and all of
mix.
that.
We're use
Sure.
that word mix again in the mixed doubles, and I'm mixed on the feelings on this.
Yeah.
But you're mixing and matching with what is best for TV, best
Sure.
for the fans, and then best for the players. And
Exactly.
and it's always like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe it's different this year. Yeah, it just
Right.
it
So I think, I
evolves,
mean, for the first year having it, and I think it was a good idea. I mean, and people don't realize the guy that really came up with the idea is this guy named Eric Budarak, he was a
I remember
doubles
Eric. He used to
specialist.
play at
Yeah.
UCLA.
Right. He's kind of, I don't know exactly he's like the chairman of the tournament, but he came up with
Okay.
the idea, and he was a double specialist. So
Yeah, I remember him.
it's pretty funny. I mean, that a double specialist would come up with that idea and come up. So if he knows better than anybody that
Yeah,
people don't really care that much about, the finals of mixed doubles on the Saturday of the tournament. I mean,
not at all.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's great for tennis. I think they could even, if they wanted to, do it at some like Indian Wells or Miami. I mean, we have so many mixed events now where you have men and women playing. And I think people like to see mixed doubles and men and women playing. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that, to be honest. And I think it's
Okay.
great for the game.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, last thoughts on the next 2 weeks. What we got so many good players from America as we talked about before. It's like so unusual. It's been a long time. Maybe actually, I don't even remember the last time we've had so many good players from the U.S. men
Yeah.
and women at the same time.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I mean, I think when I first came up, I mean, I was one of 30 Americans back in the early 90s,
Yep,
middle 90s. But then most of my 10, 12 years playing, we had quite a few Americans because I remember being, 80 in the world, and I was like the 12th or 13th American. But then you had those many years where you had Isner and Query were good, and
yep,
Fish and Roddick, but there weren't like a ton of other ones, right? So um, it's same with the women. I mean, I remember being with Jessie 10, 11 years ago, and she broke in the top 100, and she was like 8 on American. Now they're like, there's 20, right? So
yep.
I think, and again, being the U.S. Slam, I mean, it makes it really exciting. And today, we practiced over there. We walked by a couple courts where some Americans, where Kessler was playing, and it was packed, and
Good.
the crowd was going nuts. So I mean, that's fantastic, right? And
Does
our
Ash talk
U.S.
about that
Slam.
at all?
Oh,
Like
she
being
likes it. Yeah,
you know,
she
but I
likes
mean,
the
not just playing in the U.S., but playing the U.S. Open and knowing that
absolutely.
they're rooting for you, even if they don't even know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she feels it, and she likes the support. It's
Beautiful.
funny. I kind of like the fact that we have a lot of competition. I think in a way, if she was ranked 30 and she was like the third or fourth best American, it would probably be a little bit of a different feeling than being
Yeah.
ranked 30 and being like eighth, right? So that's always, I think, a good thing because it makes you, keeps you. And it's same with the boys. I think having that healthy competition and having country, countrymen and countrywomen right there with you, I think helps them actually become better, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you're always going to be a little bit more competitive, I think, with like a fellow country person, than sometimes a foreigner. So I think it's
Sure.
all good. I mean, I think it's same things happening with the boys. I mean, TFO, Fritz, Paul, they're all about the same age. Um, so some of the Americans, Peyton Stearns and Anisimova, and
Sure.
Daniel Collins. They're all like a couple years older than Ashton, but she's kind of like right in the rear view mirror. So I think that helps us. And it just, I know some younger Americans, men and women that you probably don't even know yet that are going to be good, that are coming up. And so I think the future for American tennis is fantastic right now,
Beautiful.
and it's showing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been 23 years
I know.
since we had it. Well, it's 22 years since Roddick won the Open, and
Yeah.
23 since it was an American Slam because we had Sampras and Serena won in
Wow.
2002. So
Yeah,
that's a long time.
that's a long time. But this is how it
Ridiculous.
starts, right?
I
This is how it
exactly.
starts. I mean, somebody, like that's what I said, a woman or a man, somebody's gonna break through here soon, and they're
Yep.
knocking on the door. And what better place than here in New York?
Yeah, and what better person than Ashlyn Krueger to
That's
pull
right.
off the upset this
That's
week?
right.
Last question, and before we go, what does being seeded mean at this stage of her career? Because I guess only a few weeks ago she would have been seeded, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Does it
the way
matter?
that the well, it does matter, but it
In
also
what
the
way?
way, well, the way the draw kind of set up for us with Kennen, it's kind of like they're
That's a
pretty
tougher first
close.
round match.
Well, yeah, I'm on paper, but it's also she could have been seated 30 and Ken could have been ranked 35 and played
Right.
first round.
Okay.
What helps you is not playing like Swiatek first round or Sabalenka
Of course.
first or second round, right? So you're protecting yourself from that. Like
Got it.
ultimately,
So your
besides
draw is
that,
going to be tougher, no matter how you look at it.
yeah. I mean, at Wimbledon, she was seeded and she got a decent draw. She played like a wild card first round, and then a good chance she would have won the next one if she didn't fall, whatever. But she lost. But like that girl that beat her, Pavlyuchenkova, got to the quarterfinals. I mean, Ashland
Okay.
could have
It
potentially
could have
done
been
that.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, it's one of those things that I think it helps. Like some of the Indian Wells, Miami, those tournaments where you get a bye,
Yeah.
if you're top 32 seed, besides getting a bye, so you're starting in the second round, you're playing somebody that's not seeded right off the bat. So
Got
you're actually like going to play a seed in the third round. If you're not seeded and you don't have a bye, first round you're playing an unseed, but then you're playing a seed the next match right away. So that's a big difference a lot of times.
yeah.
Now the downfall in those tournaments, like I said, is that it's one less match. So you're playing a winner of somebody that just played. So they've played on the courts, they've played in the um, some players. I mean, most players, the more matches they win, the better they feel and confident. And so you see a lot of times, I think it's happened some with this Navarro girl,
Yeah.
Emma Navarro, who's kind of struggling a little bit. Like she got last year, she played like 80 matches. Like and she's the type of player that needs matches. Like you can tell, like
Yeah.
it
You don't
gives her
need that many
confidence.
though.
But she got to top 10
I
doing
know.
that. And
I
now
know.
this
She might
year,
have burned herself out too,
she
right?
might have. And then this year, a lot of tournaments where she has a bye, and
Okay.
she's playing somebody like Indian Wells, like her first match. So it's, again, it's like, I think ultimately, once you're seated high enough to get a bye, it definitely helps. There's no doubt. But
But
it,
does Ash talk about that at all? Like, oh damn, I could have been a seed a few weeks
no,
ago, or doesn't even
no,
come into play.
no. I mean, I know going into Wimbledon, our goal, like at the beginning of the year, she told me my goal is to be seated at Wimbledon because she wanted to go into the seated locker room and stuff. And then this year they decided to change the rules. So instead of the top 32 seeds going into the members locker room, it was only the top 16. So she didn't even get in the locker room
Oh
anyway.
wow.
But it's like I think it's one of those things. I think once you're established and you're top 10 or top 20, it just becomes, you just get used to it.
Okay.
I mean, but I mean, in the men, same thing. You could be 35 in the world, and you're right on the cusp of seeing, and you play center first round, right? And
Yeah,
then if
exactly.
you're seeded, then you're that's not going to happen in the third round. So that's ultimately what it is. But you see
Okay.
every tournament, out of 32 seeds, you'll see 10 lose first round, men and women all the time. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how
All
it
right.
works.
Well, well, good luck the next
Thanks,
2 weeks,
Ted.
not just this week,
Appreciate it.
the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
make it last. I brought a little fun thing to show you here. A
Oh
little
yeah, look
old,
at that.
a little old tennis racket,
That's
and I don't know if we
great.
can get it close enough, but you can actually see. Let me turn it
Is
around
it
this way.
signed? You have it signed, right?
Yeah,
This
have
side?
you ever heard of this guy who signed it to me? Here, where is it?
Who is it? Jack Kramer. Oh, look at
Yes,
that was my first racket too, Jack Kramer.
exactly.
That's
Isn't that
awesome.
great? And
Yeah, that's
Jack was the
fantastic.
one who started our tournament, of course, in L.A. and
Sure. And then
UCLA,
his
right?
son was
Bob
tournament
Kramer was my
director for
boss forever,
years.
and there's Jack
Forever.
signed his.
Yep.
If
Look
you
at
didn't have a
that.
Jack Kramer Wilson racket, you weren't even into tennis,
Yeah, that was
right?
my first racket, Jack
There's Jack
Kramer.
right
I
there.
like that one with the red. Oh, it had his face on it. That's a
Yeah, is
really
that
good one.
great?
That's fantastic. Wow.
I just thought I'd
That's
bring that back.
awesome.
This
And
is
I
for
like,
anybody under the age of 50 who has no
yeah.
idea what the hell this is.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Anyway, I just brought that out of the cobwebs just to show you.
Yeah,
All
that's
right, sir.
great.
Have a wonderful
Ted,
U.S.
thank you.
Open.
I
We
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
And
Thanks.
thanks to everybody for watching the 50th anniversary tour of Touching Greatness. And this guy's now past 50, right? So you're part of it.
52. Amazing. I'm right
52.
there.
How do you
Wow.
do it, sir? How do
Uh,
we survive this long?
I don't know how we did it. We just keep going, right?
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
That's Michael Joyce. Have a great Open.